Hey, today I'm talking about 3 erotic vampire films, all written and directed by French filmmaker Jean Rollin. And the names of those 3 films are The Shiver of the Vampires, The Rape of the Vampire, and The Nude Vampire. First up is The Shiver of the Vampires. This is a 1971 film, and the basic premise is this newly married couple are honeymooning at her cousin's castle. But wouldn't you know it, these previous monster hunters are now turned into vampires, and shenanigans ensue. And it was an interesting experience. It is a very, very 70s film. Like, the music and costumes were so hardcore 70s. But like, once I got acclimated to it, I really vibed with it. It really worked for me. Of the 3 films I'm talking about today, this one definitely does erotica the best. Like, it's a vampire movie, so like, you're kind of expecting sexy fun time stuff. And this one definitely has it sprinkled all throughout, but it never like lingers or anything for too long. It's just kind of like there to be fun, sexy stuff, but then also other things are happening at the same time. I probably also enjoyed the nudity most in this because I really enjoyed the main woman who got naked plenty of times. She's a cutie. There are definitely long stretches of silence, which happen in all 3 of his films that I'm talking about today, but they didn't feel like they were taking forever. I didn't mind it too much. And the story is definitely very simple. You more or less figure out where it's gonna go pretty quickly. But despite that, I still enjoyed it and had a good time with it. The characters were interesting. There were a lot of them, and they all had different sorts of vibes. Like, there's the 2 main vampires who are very 70s. There's the main woman vampire who is just this complete other, like, more dramatic vibe. There's the 2 servant ladies who are silent, I believe, the entire movie, but they have their own arc, and it's just, I don't know, it's so interesting. So yeah, I don't know if I can perfectly articulate why this one worked for me. It just kind of vibed. Honestly, if you're gonna watch just one of these, this is the one that I would say is to go with, just because, like, it's a simple story, yeah, but it's cohesive, and it's interesting, and the characters are interesting, and the aesthetic is interesting, and, you know, the naked people are attractive. So yeah, I would say if you want a nice, fun 70s vampire flick with lots of nudity, look no further. This one will check all those boxes and then some. Next up is The Rape of the Vampire. This is a 1968 film, which is actually kind of 2 films. To explain, the first 30 minutes was actually a short film that the director was commissioned to make, but when it did well, then the financiers behind it are like, hey, here's some more money, turn it into a feature. So then the next hour after that is the second go of it. You can definitely tell that right away. Like, the first half an hour is its own, like, complete story, and like, it's building to a climax, and then it stops, and then it starts all again, adds in all these new characters and new things suddenly, and then goes on for an hour. The premise is, for the first part, there's these 4 sisters who are maybe vampires, and the psychologist guy is coming to town to convince them that they're not actually vampires, but maybe they are actually vampires. And then the second half, this vampire queen comes to town because she had plans for these 4 sisters, and she's trying to make a whole revolution thing or something. And it's definitely a vibe. It was hard to follow at times, for sure. Like, afterwards I read the Wikipedia to be like, wait, what happened in this story? And then I got like a good sense of what actually happened. Especially the first 30 minutes. It's so strange. Like, there's shots that just don't mean anything and don't come back. There's so many weird characters. Once it switches to the feature, it definitely was more cohesive and made a lot more sense. It was still strange, but I got more sense of what was going on. The end also is definitely kind of confusing. I didn't really get why things were happening. But that being said, I still enjoyed it. It's a trip of a film, and I would say if you like weird, strange horror films and boobs, this is definitely worth checking out, because it has both those things in spades. So yeah, it's an interesting film that is worth a watch if you're looking for that specific sort of vibe. And lastly is The Nude Vampire. The title is definitely very true. There is a vampire who is just naked the entire film. She has on clothes, but they're like sheer clothes, so like, you can see everything. The basic premise is this guy sees this woman who's running from some stuff, and he realizes that she has a connection to his father's club, so he starts to investigate the club, and then turns out that the club is actually like this suicide group that are really really into vampires and she's probably a vampire or has connections to vampires. I forget what. I would say, like, in terms of cohesiveness and just like looks of the film, this is definitely a big step up from his first film, The Rape of the Vampire. It's easy to tell what's going on when, but like, man, I was so bored with the story. I couldn't care about stuff, which really sucked because I'm like, I really want to care, and it was easier to tell what was going on, so I liked that, but I just could not get myself to care. I did like elements of it, but it just really missed the mark for me. Like, there's so many parts that are just really long extended sequences of nothing. A great for instance is when the main character's best friend is introduced. It's introduced by an extended sequence of his girlfriend naked touching herself. She's only in that one scene, but the best friend character is barely in the movie. So it's like, why did we have this ridiculously long naked scene with a character that means absolutely nothing to everything? Like, I get it's erotica, so like we're supposed to have naked fun time stuff, but like, make it make some sort of sense. Like, the main vampire being naked the entire time, I can understand that, but like this know-nothing character having like a 5-minute sexy dance? Why? What are you doing? I want to be emotionally invested in the nudity, come on. So yeah, no, I didn't put this in the didn't like, but I also didn't care for it. It's a very solid meh of a movie. Would I recommend it? Nah, I think it's a safe one to skip. It's not the worst, but he definitely has better stuff. Alrighty, now for today's rankings. First up, we got The Shiver of the Vampire, sitting at number 4 in the quite-like section. And then after that is The Rape of the Vampire, sitting at number 6 in the liked section. And then breaking up the rear is The Nude Vampire, sitting at number 7 in the meh section. And this is out of a total of 9 old movies so far this year.